Hello and welcome everybody. Today we're going to be taking a look at a board that's been kind of making waves in the budget community. I do believe a couple other YouTubers have covered this, but I've been kind of putting off picking one up, but decided I wanted to pick one up so that way we can take a look at it because, I mean, why not? It's a board that's, again, making waves and it has a lot of value from my understanding. So this is the CIY GAS67. This is brought to you by the same people that brought the Tester 68. So the Tester 68 being like this ultra $20 budget board that runs on batteries. Well, this is an offering that brings a lot of features that we're all looking for. It has gasket mounted. It's, as far as I know, it's still north facing. It comes with a nice plastic case. Really, we should just take a look at it. So here's the box that it comes in. And again, this is my first time taking a look at it, so I'm kind of curious what the inside brings. I did not pick up the CIY Tester 68 because it just didn't appeal to me since it was wireless only and requires you to use actual batteries. So let's take a look at this. And already that's a pretty pleasant surprise. So if we look here, we have the stabilizers that we're going to use for today's build. So I did not do the stabilizers already, but this is an interesting presentation. They're not even pre-installed on the board, which is pretty cool. And actually, if you look at these, let me bring these to your attention. These are not plate mount stabilizers like I had expected. These are indeed dry, flat on the bottom, PCB mount stabilizers. That was not expected at all. And then we just got some normal wires. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what's inside the actual box. Now I want to state something. This board can be had off AliExpress for about 51 bucks. And I've heard that if you can get access to Taobao, that you can get this for about $30 US. Of course, you know, you've got the additional shipping there where AliExpress kind of incorporates that for the most part. But looking at this, I'm pretty amazed by what I'm seeing. This right here is a braided coiled cable. Now it doesn't have any like fancy ends or aviator connectors or anything, but this is already better than what I feel like some of the other manufacturers include in their kitting. And here we've got the case itself wrapped in PE foam sheet. We won't be utilizing this for the build. I'll be using a different PE foam sheet, but that is nice if you're wanting to do the PE mod because then you've already got something included. Okay, so I am very impressed by this. This is crazy is what this is. This is an incredible value. So this is our bag of goodies. We have pour-on gasket material. What else do we have in here? We've got bag of case screws, bag of what looks to be our stabilizer screws. The rest of this is kind of crazy. Okay, so we've got some feet and things here. That's interesting that you actually have to assemble your own feet. If I can get this out, this is what's kind of blowing my mind. So they give you some stabilizer pads, and I'm assuming that these are not intended to be... Oh, these may be shims. Okay, so these very well may be shims. So we'll have to take a look at that when we go to put the stabilizers on. And then we've got these gaskets here. And that is actually silicone for underneath the space bar. So let's take a look at that, because again, that's unexpected too. Man, they give us a little bit of everything here. This is awesome. Got our manual here. And then our warranty. But this is crazy. Hold the phone. Look at this. You get... Man, we're going to have to dig into this a little bit more. But this is kind of neat. Anyway, what's neat about it is we've got a polycarbonate plate. There's silicone plate dampening in here. And then below that, it's already got a pour-on like PE foam type sheet that's already pre-cut. We don't have to do anything for it outside of what we would normally have to do. So that's pretty crazy. So anyway, yeah, this is... It feels cheap. I'm not gonna lie. It feels cheap. But let's get the rest of this out of here so we can get this big box out of the way. We've got our PCB. It's down here. So the PCB, it is north facing. Blows my mind though. Like all this other stuff, and we still get a north facing PCB. If this was a south facing PCB, I mean that this would be like the best board of the year or something in terms of budget value. Very interesting like notch on the PCB here. So it does look like we are using, it's a wired only likely. There's the JST connector. That's the PCB. They give us a screwdriver because it is a Torx bit. So you do get a Torx bit, which is nice because if you don't have the handy dandy screwdriver kit that we use. And then we get the dual function keycap and switch puller. So that is awesome. And that appears to be everything in the box. So let's toss this stuff aside. Here's our board and our PCB. Now, it is not screwed together, so I'm curious how it comes up. Okay, so it just kind of comes apart. There we go. All right, so here's that plate I was talking about. So this is pretty flexible PC plate. We've got silicone dampener, which we're definitely going to be using. I'd prefer like a pour-on or EVA, but hey, why not? It's free. It comes with the board. If this is your deal, your jam, this is what you're getting for the first time, then rock it. And check that out. If you're going for that sound that everybody's chasing, which we're kind of going to be building for today, it works out because it's already inclusive and, or it's already included rather. And it's already pre-cut and everything. That's pretty amazing. All right, so we've got a couple things that we've got to do before we can really even get started building. And when I say a couple of things, I mean I'm going to be sitting here for the next 20-30 minutes doing stabilizers, but you guys are going to see that in a quick mad dash into over just a few seconds. So go ahead and take these out, and I'm going to get started on the stabilizers. All right, so that's our stabilizers finished. What I did was I lubed with what's often called Dragon Ball Z lube. This is the XHT BDZ lubricant. It's a very thick lubricant. A lot of people will often opt for dielectric grease, which I have in this syringe right here. It's a very good alternative, a lot more cost effective too, especially if you're just doing one board. But the BDZ is nice because it's a little bit of a different consistency. It's easier to paint on. You get a nice even coat without, overdoing it and then causing too much goopiness. I did not opt to holy mod these just for the pure sake that I want to see what these perform like. They feel very budget, if you will. So I believe they're polycarbonate. They might be palm, but they feel very, very budget. So we just did the BDZ and then 205 on the housings. We're gonna put these on this PCB and see what we can come up with in terms of how they actually sound once they are tuned with some dielectric grease. Now I did take the wires and I balanced the wires as well, but let's go ahead and get these put on the PCB with our trusty screwdriver kit, and I will see you on the other side. Alright, so we got all the stabilizers in. I would avoid using the stab pads. I don't think they're necessary. If I could go back and do it again, I would probably just screw them down tight. I mean, there's no wobble, of course, because the stab pads, but did have some issues, and you can still kind of see it. The stabs aren't sitting exactly flat because the clip can't, it's not the same. So hopefully that doesn't cause any kind of rattle, but we will see. Okay, now we're gonna put the PE foam sheet on the board, and we're gonna set aside our lubing mat so that way we can get started on the build, and I can show you what we're gonna be building with today. Alright, so the first thing that I want to do here is I actually want to try something a little different than what I normally do. Instead of using EVA foam today, I want to try a sheet of neoprene. So let's cut a couple of these to size. And might do 2 layers of this because it's 1 millimeter or 1.5 millimeter thick. Where one day I will find a better way of precision cutting, because this never seems to work the way I want it to. Alright, I've got our neoprene sheet cut out. We'll try the one, and then if we need to revisit with a second, we can revisit with a second one. Okay, so we have to connect this to the JST connector right here. That's on the right hand side of the board. So it's going to come over here. What you saw me do there was cut this that way I could get it underneath the stab wires here. And I'll need to do the same on this side. This is a very close but not quite a cigar situation. Like, I don't want to say it's no cigar, but it's kind of missing the mark by just a little bit. But we'll see how it sounds when we get the switches put on it. So now we put our silicone, and we've got that little piece from earlier. It's going to go underneath our switch here. Now what I'm finding odd about this is there's no standoffs on the plate. So it is intended just to simply sit. I'm guessing you're going to put the plate assembly together, and then that's just how it's going to be. So let's take a look at what we're going to be putting on here today. These are SP-Star Meteor Whites. They are a pretty nice, if you get a good batch of them, I'll talk about that in a second. They're a pretty nice linear switch, 57 grams, so a little bit heavier than a red, slightly heavier, but they do feel, I guess the spring they're using, not sure exactly what spring they're using, but they do feel a little heavier in that. They are nylon bottom, nylon top, normal stem, so there is no protrusion. But we're going to try these out because we're kind of going for that, like, that deep sounding board that everybody's kind of after. So the FOC, if you will, for lack of a easier term. So let's take this back out of here and go ahead and assemble it outside of the board. And we'll come back to that JST connection in a second. And the only reason I'm doing this, I trust myself, but the issue I'm having is we need to get this together. Like, it needs to be stuck together before I put it in. So what we want to do is we want to start with the corners. And the reason why we start with the corners is to help with the alignment of the plate. Now I want to talk about these a little bit real quick. So I think this is a batch of 70, but I'm not sure. If I've got to fill the batch of 70. This is another 20. I usually buy in packs of 90. I bought these secondhand. These ones sound pretty good. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to pick this up on audio here, but these are quite a bit more scratchy. So we'll dip into those if we have to. But I have seen others have certain batches of Meteor Whites with a bit of scratch to them. So let's go ahead and put these in this plate, and then we'll catch up when we go to put the thing together. How about that? Enough to cover the board. We have a couple left over, but forgot to put the gaskets on the plate. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Alright, so all the gaskets are on. Fitment was a little wonky, but it is what it is. Let's put this bad boy together so we can talk about the keycaps that we're going to be using. So JST connector again. And now our gaskets sit there. So the gaskets themselves are slightly longer than where they sit in. I guess you'd want to evenly get it on either side. I don't know. I'm rolling with it. there's like a mode switcher on the blocker on this guy. It's very interesting. So what you want to do is make sure you've got that switch lined up with the switch on the actual case. Okay, so we've got all that together. Now let's see if it screws together with the same size. How about that? It does. So I like to start at opposite corners. I actually think this is a little bit too small. So there's screws for your standoffs, and the screws for the case are going to be slightly different in size, it seems. Sure enough. Alright, this is the last screw. Something I want to mention is that this is very reminiscent of building Game Boys. You want to make sure that when you screw it together, you're just making it snug. You don't want to make it tight. You don't want to like crank on it and torque it. Otherwise, you could potentially ruin where it screws in. You'll start seeing like white marks and things like that because it just screws right into the top case. So that seems pretty nice. It's very light. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the feet, and well, I guess they're technically all feet, but I'll tell you what, this has been, so far, this has been a very fun DIY build. I'm really enjoying this. All right, awesome. So I think we can safely put up our screwdriver set for now. Talk about what kind of keycaps we're going to be using. And I hope I don't screw the name up. So these are Akko black and pink keycaps that came, they're the Hiraganas that came with the ACR 87. And I ended up selling that board with different keycaps. So we're going to build this here with these ones. So here we go. Alright, keycaps are on. Let me go ahead and get this mess cleaned up, and then I'm going to go tune the stabilizers, and then we'll do a typing test on it real quick. And we'll come back, and with a clean work area, we'll talk a little bit about my thoughts on this. So I'll be back here with a sound test in just a moment. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this board. As far as the sound test is concerned, not really what I was going for. And I think the issue is the nylon on the PC and not having an actual PE foam sheet in there. Aesthetically, it's really nice. I mean, it's definitely kind of budget looking, but it looks and feels nice. I do kind of like the sound. It's okay. I think in the future, what I would do is if we revisit this, I think we'll put some polycarb switches on it. Now, before I continue too far, I would like to ask that if you guys are enjoying this content, that you please click on that subscribe button, so that way it will, and the notification bell, so that way it'll notify you when new videos go live. I had noticed that when I was checking some analytics the other day, that only about 7% of people are actually following the channel, and yet I do see people come back from time to time and comment on some of the videos. So if you do like the content, please hit that subscribe button and be sure to like or dislike any of these videos, so that way I get an idea of what you guys are actually interested in. And of course, always please communicate, leave comments. I love to hear your comments. I love that you guys come to hang out with me, but I would love to actually converse with you guys in the comments section. So anyway, back to the board. As far as accepting the layout, everything was good. You've got your profile switcher here. Build quality, again, while budget, it feels pretty nice. I just think I made the mistake of choosing to go with full nylon switches on a polycarb plate. You know what? This is pretty awesome. This is a pretty nice board, and I would recommend this 10 times over to anybody looking to build a 65% board, especially if they're looking at only having about $100 or so to work with, because you can get this board, you can get some Gateron Pro switches. That way you don't have to spend money on lube, if provided you're okay using the pre-lubed experience. That's another 20 some odd dollars, actually about 18 since we're only doing a 65%. So you're looking about another $18, and then you can get an inexpensive set of Gligging keycaps, YMDK keycaps, and you can come in around or under $100 for a board like this. So I think this is definitely a recommend. If anybody asks me about this, I'm going to definitely recommend it. And you know what? I might even use this from time to time. So yeah, excellent. Yeah, as always, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun. I like doing these boards. Got some really cool projects coming in today. I have a Keychron V1 coming in. Stay tuned for that video next week. I've got replacement LEDs coming for the 5075S, so that way we can do a repair video on that, and then a following build video. And then lastly, I picked up an Icky 68 Peaches and Cream, and we're going to build that. And then I also purchased a secondhand Olivia Zoom 65 that we're going to tear down and kind of redo non-Olivia style. But anyway, thanks again everyone for hanging out with me. And until next time, y'all have a good one.